Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, 9 p.m. here in Ireland, and I'm here with my best friend, Charles Kempf and Silvia Gibbons. And today is time for Spiritual Light. So I want to say thank you for Kardec Radio for the opportunity to be here. And our topic today is message number 41 from the book Living in Spring. The message title is On the Difficult Road. So, message 41, book Living in Spring, title On the Difficult Road. Okay. So, good evening. Good evening, Silvia. How are you, my dear?
I'm very well, thank you. Looking forward to tonight. It's a very interesting topic, and looking forward to be talking to you and everyone. And good evening, Charles, and good evening you, and good evening everyone that has joined us or will join us. Então, boa tarde a todos. Hoje nós vamos falar sobre um tema bem importante, bem interessante. E boa tarde a todos e bem-vindos. E vai ser muito bom. Obrigada. Thank you.
Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Stevan. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Happy to be here again with you today to talk a little bit differently today about this section 41 of this Living Spring book of Emmanuel. And just, let's taste it. I hope you will enjoy. And who knows, go and read those books, which are really full of very good and short lessons. We can open and take a short lesson. It takes just a couple of minutes to read, but it's a lot of food for our spirit.
And we need that. We will see we need food for spirit. Yeah. Good. You say something in French?
Bonjour à tous, très heureux d'être de nouveau parmi vous, désolé. Donc ce soir, on va parler du chapitre 41 du livre Sources vives, qui existe aussi traduit en français pour les francophones qui seraient parmi nous. Et donc, un peu différemment des autres émissions qu'on a fait jusqu'à présent, ce genre de message nous apporte pas mal d'aliments pour notre esprit.
Merci. Okay. As always, let's put our video here. Let me do my screen sharing. There we go.
It's tough for us to understand that the difficulties of life that are presented to us may cause us to not perhaps want to do something good because we only see the now and we forget that there's a greater picture involved in everything. There are minute details and we tend to focus on those details, but it's important to remember that those details are small parts of a great machine that eventually will produce the outcome of those things that we want. Whenever we face these small situations, we have to do what is right, what is good, in accordance with our conscience, because we are the best judges of our own selves. The conscience is the best judge of our own actions. So if we listen to our own selves, when we're doing certain actions, certain deeds, we will always do what is right. We will be in accordance with what God expects from us, the right behavior, the behavior that will open up new horizons for us, broaden our vision of life, and allow us to be at peace with ourselves. Because when we don't do what is right, we're not at peace with ourselves. When we do what is wrong, we frustrate ourselves because we know that we are doing something wrong, because we are not following that guide, which is the conscience. The law of God is written within our conscience. And if the law of God is within our conscience, that means that all we have to do is pay attention, pay heed to whatever our conscience tells us. And everything is based on love. God is all about love. The truth is all about love. So if we listen to our conscience, we're following the example of love. We're following that cosmic verb that reigns supreme in the universe. And we're following in accordance in the footsteps of the greatest moral example this earth ever had, which was Jesus Christ.
Okay. Beautiful message. Beautiful comment from the Spiritist Academy. And deliberately today, I didn't prepare any questions for ourselves because I would like to make this a kind of debate since this is the first trial. And by the way, my friends, let us know if this model is good for you as well, because as Charlie said, today we are doing something different. We are not following something in the Spirit's book or choosing a topic. We get a message from Emmanuel and we will comment this. Let us know. We are just trying a lot of different things here to see uh, how's best fit everyone. And when we think about on a difficult road, it is of course something we want to avoid, but everyone sooner or later will face that difficult road. That difficult road could be financial difficulties, could be health difficulties, could be employment difficulties, could be family difficulties, could be a lot of things, or could be all together. Then we call perfect storm. Could be all together. And what I have to say is, whatever problem we faced or we will face, it means we do have everything or all the features to overcome it. Never ever we will receive a problem or a difficulty that we will our faith to fail. Never. Failing a difficult situation, it is our own option. And I'd like to say what the message said to us. God laws, it is in our conscious. So, what do we mean about God laws? I think that's a good starting point for us, because on a difficult road, a lot of people question themselves, what I have done to deserve this? I'm a good person. I do this, I do charity, I do that, and I don't deserve face that difficulty. And hey, Bobby Brown, good to have you here, my friend. I hope everything's okay in California. So I think this is good a starting point for ourselves, because why? I think the first question we're going to ask, we try to debate here, is why we think our first reaction when we face a problem, the first thought it is, oh, I don't deserve it, or God doesn't like me, or what I have done to deserve it. Can I start with you, Charles?
Yes, of course. I think it has been quite very well explained in the video, in the short video, which is, by the way, excellent as usual. No? And the title on the video at the beginning was "Doing Good When the Times Are Bad." And as you told, Stevan, we always have a moment where bad times come, where the difficult road is coming. And our first reaction is always why and how, because we like comfort, we like easy things, we like to enjoy life and so on. I remember one of my first boss who hired me when I came back in France, and he gave me some work to do, which was quite difficult. Difficult not only intellectually but also in the context, because you had several people in the team with different opinions about it, and each one pushing on different sides. And I was just new in that company and so on. And when one or a week later he called me again, I told him. He asked me how are you doing, and I was looking to him. What you gave me to do is not easy. It's difficult. And he looked in my eyes like this and told, "But my young friend, if it would be easy, I would have done it already." So this is how to say an illustration. The difficulties are challenging us, and if we cope with this challenge positively, we in fact are receive this positive stimulation in order to work, to solve problems, and to overcome all these difficulties. If we at the opposite, we enter into a negative attitude. Why me? Why now? This is, I do not deserve it, and so on, as you told, Stevan. In fact, what we are doing, we enter into a kind of a vicious circle. We really take more distance from the spiritual mentors who are here to help us. Whilst if we do the opposite, if we do, okay, there is a problem, let's face it. How can we face it in the best way? And if you concentrate yourself and go to seek this help of the benefactors, this help is always coming, and your capacities will be multiplied by 2 or by 3 in order to solve a problem that even at the beginning you were not trusting fully that you would be able to solve. And this is exactly how to say the mindset of this message of Emmanuel, to tell us that our Almighty Father, which is God, will never leave us and nor forsake us. There is always some help here for the one who are asking for help and seeking the help. So the message basically is, let's not enter into this negative vicious circle attitude. Let's, at the opposite, we tell in French, okay, let's face the problem. Let's do whatever is in our possibility. And as you exactly told, Stevan, we never get trials which are above our difficulties. We always have ways to solve them. At least this trial we get in the existence. And we must have this faith, not blind faith, but reasoned faith, which then helps us to cope with it. So we should really try to get rid of all this way of thinking which are negative. Why me? Always blaming the others and things like that, because this does not help us to progress towards happiness. Let's, at the opposite, make our part, concentrate our efforts, seek the help which will always be here, and face it.
Great, my friends. Yes. This is good. This is good. Robbie Brown said to us here, we choose to place limitations on ourselves. That's true, Robbie. Yeah, we we love to act as a judge, or in other words, we love to point fingers to someone else, and we come to us, we do have a lot of limitations. Yeah, Lou, good night, my dear. Hope you are okay. And following the same train of thought, Silvia, can I can I ask you to comment something? I will read uh, four lines from from the message, and we we can comment about it. It is one, two, third paragraph. The cells of the body may experience hunger and clamor for ordinary soup, but the necessities,
Clamor.
impulses, and emotions of the soul often cause immeasurable afflictions, demanding ampler spiritual nourishment. So, what we understand about spiritual nourishment, what's this kind of food they are saying here? What's this ordinary? Like, what is this ordinary soup? Is a soup I can go to the market and buy like two potatoes, three corn chips, two carrots, boil everything, and then I have a soup.
Well, yes, if you want to have a soup for the body, that's what you eat. I think going this message, it is extremely profound. This message, that is, I think Charles mentioned something. There's a lot of food for thought here, to use that expression, talking about food. A lot of food for thought, because, I mean, like everything that Emmanuel says and writes, even the title, I think the translation that they have, they sort of refined a bit and made a different title. That's why I couldn't find it, because in the title that Emmanuel gives, really, he says is the rough road, the rough path, um, which is full of stones and rocks and those things that are very, very difficult to walk on. And he also says that the body needs food, but the soul needs food as well. And I think that's the main thing. Because if you allow me as well, I include the next paragraph, because he said, as you read before, Stevan, we need some spiritual nourishment, but at times of deep exhaustion in our inner reserves, that our energy seems to have been completely gone, and our hopes retract, they beat retreat, and it installs then in ourselves, within us, like a very deep night. And I think I can remember parts of my life that I felt like that. And how do you survive those things? Because I think the question of needing the spiritual nourishment, and especially at those times, it is when you feel isolated, you find difficulty to maybe in contacting people and telling, someone from your family, or someone, or a friend, because we are in this thing. No, we have to do it. We can overcome, we can. And I think that's so easy to fall into this, that saying, oh, I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to do it. And we don't ask for help. And as he says here, as it gets deeper and deeper, and we get into this very dark place, which, if something doesn't really happen, we can fall in very serious trouble. But I think at those times we have to make that little effort. And what kind of food do we need? We need prayers. We need a helping hand. We need maybe professional help. Sometimes we need a professional help. It's not, but I think most of all, most importantly, is to find someone that you trust and talk to them, first of all. Because, I think when you get into this dark night here, what he says, which reminds me as well, St. John of the Cross, the dark night of the soul, is when you go into this the deepest of pain inside yourself. And it's very, very difficult. So if one has faith, you think of God, you can pray. But in thinking about in practical terms, if we are able to have at least one person that you can trust and talk to them and say, I'm going through a really difficult path now, and I need help. And then you can say, maybe, you can go to professional help and you can talk to someone and they can help you. But also, because when you are in that part, you find difficulty in praying. You're finding difficulty in connecting with God. And it's very, very, you're almost unaware. We know we are in great need, but to become almost unaware that we are in need. And we go into this vicious circle and it gets worse and worse and worse. So we need help. Sometimes we can do ourselves and sometimes we cannot. And I think it's just to be aware of and try to find help. Now, prayer always helps. Prayer always helps. And I think that's one of the reasons as well, that if you are able to communicate what you're going through, another person can pray for you at those difficult times that, you find yourself find difficult to pray, to connect to God. And through them, you can create this bridge to connect with them. Also, is to see that, to use actually to use a phrase for Joanna de Angelis. She says, in talk about pain and suffering, she says, do not consider yourself that you suffer just because you were the worst person you had the worst spiritual past of every being. And then she said, there is a door, there is a kind of pain for elevation, pain for conquest, and those repaying pain. So the only way that we overcome all this pain, because some of the pain we go through is not some of the pain that we go through. Every pain that we go through is a way for us to progress spiritually. Is a step towards a session. I think Emmanuel actually says that in the message. And it depends on the way that we deal with it. If I think, somebody said, always say, oh, why me? I think you said that. Why me? Why me? God doesn't like me. God hates me, and everybody else is happy, and I'm unhappy. And it depends as well that you think, oh, my life is horrible, and it all depends the way we see it. If we see ourselves as a victim, if we see ourselves as only in life of the physical, of the corporeal time, instead of seeing the potential of our spirit, it depends. The pain, the size of the pain is the way we see it. It is very difficult. It is hard. In saying that, I want people to know that in no way whatsoever I wanted to diminish anybody's pain, because there are people who really live a life of quite desperation, and we know that. And sometimes when we look at our own lives, we are blessed. But everyone has a different pain. And as I think you said that as well, Stevan, that God never gives you a pain harder than you can bear. And that's something as well. If we are going through certain difficulties, it's because we are able to overcome it. I remember this very little story in that book, Jesus no Lar, Jesus at Home, Neo Lúcio. And it tells the story of this lady. She came to Jesus and she said to him, "Oh, Master, my cross is too heavy for me. I can't bear it. It's so heavy. It's a terrible, terrible weight. I can no longer bear it." And then Jesus said to her, "Well, there is a room here. It's full of crosses. Leave yours and get another one that you think is lighter for you. Just choose whatever you want." So she goes into this room and she chooses one cross and another cross and another cross. And then she comes out. And then Jesus said, "Did you choose it?" And she said, "Yes." And he said, "But it is your own cross." It was the only one I could bear to carry. All the others are far too heavy. So, it's a funny little story, but I think that's sometimes how we see our problems. We think other people are happy. They may not be saying anything, but they are going through very, very difficult things. They may be unemployed, maybe a child is ill, or they themselves are going very difficult, difficult in their relationship, or they're sick, and all these sort of things. So we should never ever compare our pain with others, because oh yeah,
I think your internet is bad.
hello, can you hear me?
Now I can hear. We can hear you.
Hello. Oh, everybody disappeared for a moment. No, we tended to compare. Oh, that is a terrible war. There, this. No, we have to take care of our problem first, and then we can compare. They suffer more than I do, or I suffer more than they do. Usually, that's how we see it. So the way we see a pain, it makes the difference. And I think in this message here that of Joanna de Angelis also, she says that the way, if we are able to see our difficulties and face it, and also not to struggle against it or be angry with God because of it, but she gives us an answer for us to love. Because even though we be suffering, we'll be able to get so much more help as well, spiritual help from God, for the moment that we are going through. And actually she makes a point that she says it may be in other people, they would feel so happy that the help they are being given. And so she says, instead of giving into pain, try to solve it, and most especially trying to help others and try to to love others and create everything, really think how you're gonna help, how can you can love the person, let go, forgive. And this is, I think, is very, very important, because you read the same thing, in chapter 5 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, when he says reasons for resignation. The Spirit teaches the same thing, how to, in those difficult moments, not compare, but to hold to God, do our very best, and work, and love, and give ourselves, because the more we do that, the more help we will be given. And it's a way of overcome quite a lot of this. And I think, when he said, I will, and Charles already quoted it, said, I'll never leave you, I shall never leave you, I will never forsake you. And I think, sorry, I'll just finish one more thing. I don't want to go on too long, but I've been going back to the Gospel, from where the quote, the quotation in the message comes from. It's the 13th from Paul's letter to the Hebrews. And he says, the beginning of the chapter is, let brotherly love continue. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware. So, don't forget your pain, because sometimes you have angels around you trying to help you. So, like Joanna says, give love, try to love. And I think that's the best thing, because the more we give, the more we receive in help and support from the spiritual world. And also, many times, the support from the spiritual world will come, like a friend will call us out of the blue. You haven't heard from them for ages. It's, no, I was thinking about you, just saying hello, how are you? And it just brings you some joy to your day. And I think that's how the spirits help us, by using our friends and family to come with nice words, to present us things, to show us different things, something nice to read. That's how the help comes. So I think, to just summarize, don't compare a pain to anybody. Don't compare your pain with anybody. See what's yours. Try to see what's best way to solve that difficult problem. Do not be afraid for asking for help from someone that cares for you, and really, open your heart to God. Ask God, in prayers, ask God to give you courage and strength to overcome the difficulties. And, like Joanna says, give love, and give support to others, because the more we give, the more we receive, because we know we are not alone. God does not leave us, and He's always there supporting us. And so, like Emmanuel says, there is no loneliness and no abandonment. God is with us all the time. And I think if we can really let go of feeling like victims and feeling sorry for ourselves, we remember the story of the footsteps on the sand. He said, oh, I walked all by myself. No, that time I carried you. And I think it's always something good to be
Wonderful.
reminded. Sorry if I went on too long.
Yeah, that was wonderful. No, it's um I I would say every time we face a challenge, when this challenge finish, doesn't matter the size of the challenge, but when we get it resolved, we have a kind of feeling, oh, I'm proud of myself. We experience a feeling of, wow, I did it. And this is what we need to know, that at the end, we will prevail. Perhaps it's not the end we are planning for, but we will prevail. While Silvia was talking, I remembered I read the book and I watched the movie. It's not a spiritist book, but the message is wonderful. The Shock. Have you read it, Silvia? Yeah, Charles, did you read the book, The Shock?
I've seen the movie, but I haven't read the book. No.
I read the book and I see the movie.
Mm.
It's perfect. You know, the message there, it is beautiful. Because in the book, in the story process, they just make the main actor to go through situations in which at the end he realized that everything to sort it out was inside him. And saying it, Charles, we still have like 20 minutes, so I think we have time to read. Let me read the end of the message, because I'd like to see what your thoughts about it. Hey, Marco, good evening. So the last paragraphs saying, I will never leave you nor forsake you, promises the divine goodness. Neither loneliness nor abandonment. Heavenly providence continues watching over us. Therefore, let us hold to the comforting certainty that every storm is followed by a tranquil atmosphere, and that there is never a night without a dawn. So, Charles, what is the French way to waiting for the dawn?
Ah, it's really, I mean, fully in line with the Spiritist body of knowledge. Spiritist body of knowledge, it explains us in a rational, understandable way where do we come from, where we are, and where we are going to. We know where we are going to. It means we are progressing and progressing and progressing through rebirth and reincarnation and so on, towards in direction of God, of perfection and of happiness. So we are sure about where we go, what is our destiny, in fact. We are sure about it. Now, we know also that the path, the road to there is raw, as Silvia told, or difficult. It's not in the easy way that we reach this development. If we analyze ourselves, we see, okay, how many wrongs we still have in ourselves. And you have told it, the voice of our conscience, it has also been told very clearly in the video at the beginning. That is where the law of God is written. We have good conscience, wow, as you told, when you have achieved something, or sometimes we have bad conscience. I should not have done that. I should rather have done something different. Okay, so this is clearly the one of the aspects of this help we get continuously from our mentors. never alone, it's written. Neither loneliness nor abandonment. Sometimes on earth we feel lonely and abandoned when we are. It happens from time to time. But even in those moments, even for the persons which are really alone, there are spiritual mentors everywhere. If we call them, they come. We are never alone as we think we are, because this help is always present for us. So all the deal is we have to listen to our conscience, to the voice of our conscience. We have to know ourselves, as told in the question 919 of the Spirit's book. We have also to do whatever we can in order to raise our level of thoughts, being optimistic, being positive, and not being blaming others or how to say, always crying for the things which are happening to us. No, if we face them in the proper way, we raise our thoughts, and by raising our thoughts, we elevate our level of vibration and come to a better syntony of the vibration of these mentors, which are always here to help us. So clearly, we have all the elements in hand, knowing about this celestial providence, heavenly providence, which is continuously watching us. So we have to do what is our duty in order to stay in harmony with the nature, in harmony with these benefactors. Okay, and this is perfectly illustrated by the last sentence you read. Every storm is followed by a tranquil atmosphere. And we have had quite some storm recently, with the climate change which is coming now. There are more and more storms, if not fires, if not drought, if not flooding. We have seen everything right now, and in really unprecedented amplitude. So we know, and this is science who is telling it, that these things will happen more and more and more and more. So we have in hands all what we need in order to face those things. But of course, face all these growing difficulties which are coming in the world, which, by the way, are just a consequence of a lot of things we have abused by the material goods, by polluting and whatever. Now we have just a consequence of what is happening. And understanding that the best way to face this, the best way to have the mankind to survive, because that is put in question nowadays, to what is coming to us, is not making war or being selfishness or try to keep superfluous things for ourselves and forgetting the others. This will not work. The only way to cope with it is exactly to be positive, to be optimistic, to cultivate and develop fraternity, abnegation, charity, and so on. And with such type of sentiments, we will solve any problem, any problem. So this is this evidence that is brought by, in a rational way again, by the Spiritist body of knowledge, showing us the path we have in front of us, showing also what is our mission to enter in this, to put us in harmony and to collaborate to build a better future for ourselves and also for this planet. And by understanding this, okay, let's do it. What are we waiting for? So it's one of the highest stimulants to reach that goal and to overcome the problems, knowing that the difficult road, there is still a lot of difficult road ahead of us. But we will get there.
We will get there.
I just remembered something because talking about a difficult road to have to go through reminds me of that book, called The Pilgrim's Progress. If you haven't read it, it's really wonderful book. 17th century, and they're going to the holy city, and Christian, he's in this road and he meets this man and they travel together quite a long time. So, and they are going to this road and it's really difficult, full of rocks, and they step and it hurts their feet. And then, they look in the field next to where the road is. There is a beautiful field, grass. So they said, why are we walking this horrible road when you have this nice field? So they jump this fence and they go and start walking in the field. And of course, the field takes them a completely different direction. And they go into this, like a farm or something. And the people, the dogs come running after them. They want to shoot them. So they had to run back again and go on the road from the very point where they actually had left off. So they had to really go and walk. And, in a way, so if you want to be spiritually enlightened, you need to go through that road that is difficult, that it requires you to make an effort, to give a lot of yourself, and just thinking here what Joanna Giangeli said, through all the, you have many difficulties, a lot of pain, and part of the, and she says exactly what Emmanuel says, is part of, the knowledge of the progression of to ascend spiritually. You need to go through those things. And then she says, when you are in that situation, you have many devoted and zealous friends who surround you with kindness and tenderness and a lot of gifts. And, to anyone, this would be great happiness. But then she says, but then we balance out, the pain and the difficulties and the divine favors. We see that we receive a lot more goodness from divine favors than pains and tears. And I think that's true. If we balance out, we never, and really proves what the message says, the message Jesus left: I'll never leave you, I'll never forsake you, I'll be with you to the end of the days. And that's exactly that, because he sends his angels, he sends his our friends to come and help us. So we do have a lot more gifts that we receive from divine goodness than we actually suffer in the last instance. And I think this is a very good thing here to think what Joanna says, because if we, one way as well to think is to see a spiritual life that's important. But also I think going to a point that Charles was saying, about the difficulties of future on this planet and everything. I was just reading today about I think Prince William is involved in this thing. All these young people, amazing, 12, 13-year-old, inventing things to have less rubbish, to things that use less electricity, and they are doing something so incredible. Some young people, they are inventing things that will make life a lot easier, a lot less environmentally challenging, things to clean the oceans. And I find fascinating, because we tend sometimes to see all the dark side, and especially some of the protesters are so violent in their protests, throwing themselves and gluing themselves to roads, and completely waste of time, make people's lives very, very difficult and unhappy, actually. But then there are these young people who have all these ideas, who are inventing things, who are creating things, to make life easier, to be less challenging to the planet. And I think that's, we see the grace of God into those things. And I think we should hold on to them much more as well, because it's one thing less to worry about, that there are people out there who are going to sustain, are going to carry our planet forward, you know.
Yeah.
And those are the gifts of God to us.
Yeah. And for those want some examples, I would say, just came up to my mind now. Read the book Paul and Steven. That book will guide you and shows the story of Paul of Tarsus facing difficulties, problems, but always overcoming. I think that's the greatest example we have. It is Paul of Tarsus facing problems, facing challenges, facing disappointments, like when he went to Greece, and never losing the faith.
That's true. And by the way, Stevan, if anyone is interested in seeing the book that I was talking about, Joana de Angelis, is called Desperte Seja Feliz, Wake Up and Be Happy. They have some incredible messages here from Joana. So it's a very good book as well to bring you your level of happiness to a higher point.
And what you just told, Stevan, is reminding me the excellent book of our dear friend Dan Assisi, who came already to
On our road to Damascus.
our road to Damascus. And he shows always, okay, now we have a problem. So we have two options, this one and this one. And by analyzing the both options, you see, this option of doing good is by far the best, and even the only one to come out. And that is really the mindset we shall build in ourselves. Not this blaming culture is something terrible. We have this awful habit always to blame and to shout and whatever. But this is not helping us. That's the opposite. It's pushing us. It's holding us down. So let's come out of it. Think positive. Act positive. And the thing will completely change.
Exactly.
Because nowadays it's almost has become a profession, isn't it? I mean, you see people getting millions of, getting a lot of money by playing victim and, washing their families into, bring things, attacking their family to make a lot of money, and everything is a drama, everything is terrible. We are in a very sort of time of people like to play victims, so it's a time as well for us to stop and think we're not victims. No matter what happens, we are not victims. We are what we make of ourselves,
I would even say more, Silvia. It's better to be a victim than an aggressor, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
better for our conscience to be on the side of those who have been jeopardized than of the ones which are prejudicating the others.
Exactly.
By far.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly, because I mean that's one of the things as well, that I used to be so angry that this, you think, say for instance, like Putin, what he's doing, before it used to be full of anger and hatred towards him, and now I think, poor man, oh my God, what a miserable, how poor he is, because one day his conscience will be wakened. It doesn't matter how long it takes, and then he will remember the lives of every single person he destroyed. And that day is going to be a day that's, I wouldn't wish on anyone, because it would be a terrible day of reckoning. And, I think the point at the beginning, when he mentioned from the Spirit's book, that the laws of God is written in our consciousness. And by this very nature, we ignore it, but we know what's right and what is wrong because it's already inside us. It's creating our spirit. And we may be, let go or do for some other things. But the day of awakening will come to each and every one, and that day will be a hard one. Like Andrea Luis says, when you look into the mirror of your conscience, that will be a very, very sad day. So I feel sorry for them, I really do.
Yeah. 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 So I think we can go to our announcement. I wanted to say thank you.
Even just a last word, maybe, yeah, which is also when we talk about food for the body and food for thoughts, is all these negative attitudes are generating stress, adrenaline, and whatever. And we are getting ill with the time with those things. Whilst the opposite, all these satisfactions, this gratitude, satisfaction to achieve, to overcome a big difficulties, is at the opposite, bringing, helping first to cope with illnesses, and bringing a state of calm, serenity, and really positive also for the health of our physical body.
Exactly. Wow.
Hey.
I would say good discussion today. And thank you, Marcela. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Marcos. Robbie, put it here. Awareness of ourselves through a nightly review.
Yeah.
It's
Very
quoted
good.
from the Spirit's book, isn't it?
919.
No.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, let's go to our announcements here. Let me do this. Okay. So, next week topic, my fellow friends here doesn't know, but we will talk about moral perfection. Just following the same train of thought here, you know. And however, if something happened between today and next Wednesday, and we think is relevant, we will change the topic. But we'll, if not happen, we will keep the topic moral perfection.
Keep the faith.
Yeah. Okay. So our don't forget our friends in Bournemouth. They are organizing and the study of the books, the spiritist psychology books from Joana de Angelis. If you are interested, please contact our friend Fabrício Assunção, and he will give you details how this study works and how to enroll. On the 27th of May, we will have our European Spiritist gathering. So it's 7 o'clock Irish and UK time, and the topic of the month will be experience sharing, Spiritist activity. So it's great to have you all there. Karen from Belgium will be our moderator. So the link it's on your screen. If you need any other detail, you can go to our page www.European Spiritist Philosophy webs.com. So you can find there, and we will wait for you next on this Saturday, 7 p.m. And every Saturday, 10 a.m. London time, Guilherme Diaz, Munir Gariba, and Charles, they are holding the online course of the Mediums book. So Details, it's on your screen. Every Monday, Ebony Paris is giving a study of the book Astro City, No Solar, at 8:30 p.m. And every other Tuesday, Faye Waddington and Rafael Caldas hold the conversations on mediumship at 8:30 as well. And this is it. Thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure to be with you, my friends.
Thank you very much.
I wish you all a wonderful week. And if you are facing difficulties, don't worry. The shine, the dawn is coming. The calm atmosphere is the next one.
You
Yeah.
will win.
Actually, talking about difficulties, I have lost two of my best friends within 3 weeks of each other. They both died. Very quick deaths, very suffering, and they rest now, but it was a bit of a shock. Still, it is still weighing quite a bit on me. But
Even for a spiritist. But don't worry, Silvia. They will soon help you from the spiritual world.
I know. I told them. I asked her. But, I think it is important that we honor how we feel. We feel the loss. We feel,
Of course.
we
we
love
have
them
the right.
and we don't want them to go. But we understand everything. We know that, they are much better than they were. They were suffering. So, it was a relief. But, you think about their family, their children, and so, but, we know God is with them and they'll be helping us. Yeah. Okay, then have a good week. And today was a hard day, so today was nice to have a relaxed evening here.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you
God
all.
bless
Thank you.
everyone. Marcela, Lou,
God
Rob,
bless.
Mark, and everyone who listen after. Bye. Bye, Charles. Bye, Stevan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
God bless. Cheerio.